Tune into the static, whispers in the night. Mira's morgue awakens, where shadows take flight.
Welcome back, my haunted airway explorers. You've returned once more to Mira's Morgue of Midnight Madness, where the golden age of radio horror lingers like a ghostly whisper, and the most terrifying tales refuse to stay buried. And tonight, we continue our descent into the twisted mind of Dr. Henry Jekyll and his less-than-charming alter ego, Mr. Hyde. And oh, my dear listeners, when we last left off, London had become a playground of terror, Hyde's personal haunting ground, where cruelty and chaos reigned. And now, my dear friends, let's witness the final hour of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Hetty committed suicide? Where? At the place where she was living. She'd been told to come along to police headquarters to answer some questions. Went upstairs to put on her hat. She didn't come down. When we went up, she'd done herself in. A razor done the trick.
Good Lord.
Dr. Jekyll.
Why, what's the matter? He's fainted. Get me some brandy, Paul. There's some on the table over there.
Did he happen to know the young woman?
I don't know. I don't think so. This whole business has upset him pretty badly. He wants to have been married to Mr. Addison's daughter in a couple of weeks' time.
Yes, I suppose she won't feel much like getting married now. I tell you, sir, in all my experience, I've never seen a nastier job than that one. Hardly a bone left whole in his body.
Yes, I know.
Respectable old gentleman, too. Wonder what he was doing in a place like that.
He's gone down there to try and buy the house on behalf of a client, I understand.
You don't say. That man Hyde must be a devil and no mistake. What did he want to kick him to death for if that was all he had against him?
Feeling better, old man? Take a little more of this and lie still.
You gave us quite a turn, sir, going off like that.
I really... I'm ashamed of myself. I can't think what came over me. You need a holiday. That's what's the matter with you. You've been stuck away in this place day and night. Blessed if I can think what keeps you here.
Queer-looking place, if you'll excuse me for saying so, sir. What's all in big glass jars and long, twisted bits of piping?
There are tops for chemical experiments. Dr. Jekyll's a well-known scientist.
Oh, I see.
Feeling better, sir?
Yes, thanks, Poole. I'll be all right now.
Better let me get you something to eat, sir. You've hardly touched a bit since yesterday.
Well, that's a good idea. We'll all go back to the house and shut this place up. It's enough to get on one's nerves without anything else. You all go ahead. I've something I want to do. I won't be long.
Well, can't I do it for you?
No, oh no. Please go, all of you. I'm really better now. I can manage for myself. Get them something to eat, Poole. Something hot and strong. I feel I need it rather badly.
Yes, sir. I'll go right away, sir. That's a healthier sound, old man. I can see I'll have to take you in hand. Come along, officer.
Yes, sir.
We'll go across. Dr. Jekyll won't be long.
Hetty, David Markham, my mother, and my father, Utterson, and now, Hetty. Oh, God. God, forgive me. This is the trail of Hyde. Misery and ruin, sorrow and disgrace, and murder. I have done this. I alone. Oh, let me wipe him from my existence. Let me make certain that never Can this hideous monstrosity that walks in the guise of man pursue his frightful course again? To destroy the secret tincture that is necessary to transform me into... There. It spills across the floor like blood. Like human blood. Oh, that I could get that vision of the old man's blood out of my mind. And now, I'll go and lock that outer door. I'll lock it, grind the key under my heel, so that never again can I pass through. That was the door to my infamies. Let it be closed forever. And then perhaps in time, I'll cease to be afraid. I'll learn to live as other men, not in this hell of fear that he'll return. Oh, God. Oh, God. Have pity on me, God. What am I going to do to redeem myself in your eyes and in the eyes of men?
Paul, is he any better today?
Yes, Miss Margaret, much better. He's sitting in the sun out in the garden. Would you care to go out this way?
Yes, I will. I bought these flowers for him. They looked so pretty in the shop window. I thought they might make him feel better.
I think the sight of you, miss, will do more than any flowers.
That's nice of you, Paul. But I'm afraid I'm not very cheerful company these days.
We were talking about you in the servants' hall only this morning. If you'll excuse us for taking the liberty, miss. And we were saying that it was nothing short of wonderful the way you've borne up through it all.
I've had kind friends to help me, Paul.
As if the one thing wasn't enough without poor Mr. Henry getting took so bad. Dr. Lanyon was saying that if it hadn't been for you and the way you stayed with him and looked after him, he doesn't think he'd ever have come round the way he has.
How did he seem this morning?
Oh, a good deal brighter. Ask me what was in the papers, if you please.
Really? Well, that is a good sign. It's the first sign of interest he's shown for weeks.
I think you'll find him a good deal brighter in lots of ways when you see him.
Then I'll go out right away. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate all you've done for me.
It's been a pleasure, miss. A real pleasure.
Henry, are you asleep, dear?
Oh, is that you, Margaret? I think I must have been in some sort of a daydream. I didn't hear you coming.
I came over the lawn. No, don't get up. Let me sit here beside you.
Oh, it's time I gave up these invalid ways. I'm really quite strong again. See? I don't need a stick anymore.
Oh, that's fine. Will we go for a little walk? It's just lovely in the sun today.
Give me your arm. I'll see just how far I can go. I'll bet I can manage to the end of the square.
Oh, don't be too ambitious. I don't want to have you going back to bed again.
Oh, I promise you I won't do that. The weakness is passing now. I'm starting to think clearly again. I could even remember some formulas quite easily last night.
Oh, please don't overdo it, dear. You've got to get really strong before you even think of work again.
How are things going down at the clinic? Have you been down there recently?
Yes, yesterday afternoon. Nurse Peters and Hugh are doing a wonderful job.
Oh, no. Don't tell me they don't miss me at all. That would be too much to put up with.
Never fear about that. I was besieged with people asking how you were. It'll be a great day down there when you're well enough to come back to them.
Do you really mean that, Margaret?
Of course I do. Why do you ask?
I just want you to repeat it. It comforts me somehow to feel that I've done some good in the world.
You? Why, whatever are you talking about? There's no other person I know who'd given so much of himself to others. Your whole breakdown was due to overwork.
And now I'm beginning to long to get back to it.
Oh, but you mustn't. You've got to rest for a long time yet. Henry, why can't we get married quietly and go away together so that I can look after you?
Please.
Oh,
dear.
yes, I know we've been through all this before, but you don't convince me. The fact that you've had a bad breakdown doesn't mean that things have changed between us.
I've got to be certain that was the reason for it. These things may have deeper causes than we know.
What do you mean?
I can only put it in one way. If someone came to me and said a man had had the kind of nervous collapse that I had had, and that he was going to get married immediately after it, I would say that he had no right to do so.
Henry, you're not serious.
Oh, Margaret, darling, surely you must realize that these things don't happen by accident.
Oh, what are you hinting at? Don't let's talk of things like that. You wouldn't if you were really well.
All right. All right. Let's enjoy the sunshine and each other's company.
You've spoiled everything. Why did you want to say those things?
I'm sorry, sweet. I'm sorry. But they're in my mind. In my mind always.
It can't be that you're afraid there may be some sort of, mental derangement.
I can't say yet. It's too early to tell.
Oh, no. No, not you, Henry. Not you of all people. I won't have it. It isn't possible.
Hush, darling, please don't. Oh, what a fool I am. Now, come. Now, we'll say no more about it now. Perhaps you're right. And these things are only the stupid fancies of a sick man.
Look here, old man. What's this balderdash you've been talking to Margaret? Poor girl came to me in a terrible state this afternoon.
What did she say, Hugh?
That you've got some fantastic idea that this illness of yours might have some other cause than overwork.
And mightn't it?
Oh, might? But it would take a lot to convince me there was anything wrong with you.
Why?
Do I have to answer that? You know yourself better than I do.
And that's the answer, Hughie, old friend. I know myself better than you do. Than anybody else in existence does. And that's why I feel I have no right to marry Margaret Utterson.
What? You're not serious.
Never more so in my life.
You'll break her heart.
I can't tell you any more than what I say now. But I tell you, Hugh, that I have forfeited all right to marry Margaret. Or any other woman I shall ever meet. Now, don't ask me why. It's the truth. And it is the knowledge of that has made me what I am. A man old before his time. Broken in health. And my hair turned white before I'm 30 years of age.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
you told Margaret this?
I said something about it this afternoon.
No wonder the poor girl was upset. You shouldn't have done it, you know. It isn't fair to her.
Was ever a man in such a predicament as I am? What am I to do? She wants me to marry her right away so that we can go away together and she can nurse me back to health.
Sounds a jolly good idea to me.
Oh, how can you as a medical man say that? Heaven only knows what this illness of mine might mean.
You're not getting the idea that you maybe not sound mentally.
Precisely what I do mean.
Oh, rot.
Anyway, I'm not taking the risk. I'll have to be very certain before I go any further.
All right, old chap. If you feel that way about it, there's nothing I can do. But I think you're causing unnecessary unhappiness to a woman who's already had more than she can stand.
Don't think that I'm not aware of it. I know what she's done for me in the last few weeks.
You were unconscious a lot of the time. You couldn't have known the way she watched over you.
All the same, I think I did know. I was wandering through the darkest pits of Hades. It was the feel of her little hand in mine that brought me back again.
Don't let go. You're not so firmly on the road to health yet, you know.
You've no need to tell me that. The slightest exertion or strain simply wears me out.
Oh, by the way, they're asking me when I thought you'd be fit to answer some questions.
They? Who do you mean?
The police.
Police. What do they want?
They have never found the slightest trace of Hyde since the night he disappeared from the house in Soho. I've held them off as long as I can, but they're just frantic to interview you.
But what am I to do with it?
You knew him. They think you might be able to tell them something about his habits, where he went, what he did.
But I've never seen him either. Surely you told them that.
Of course I did. But they want you to tell them all you knew of him before he disappeared. Oh, don't look so upset, old fellow. I've told them that you're not to be bothered too much.
I'm not upset. I'll tell them all they want to know. But I don't think it'll help them much.
Well, they've got so little to go on, they're bound to seize on every scrap of information they can get. He seems to have been a complete mystery man. Lots of people have seen him, but hardly anyone knew anything about him. Poor little Hetty was the only one who was ever inside that house besides myself and Utterson.
They'll never find him, no matter where they look.
What makes you so sure?
I've had a letter from him.
A letter? Written since the murder?
Yes. I said nothing about it because I wasn't sure if I should show it to the police or not.
What does it say?
Oh, a lot of unnecessary things about past generosities I'd shown him. And that I had no fear to worry about his safety because he had a means of escape which he knew was infallible.
It hadn't any postmark, I suppose?
None at all. It was delivered by hand. I've got it here in this desk if you'd like to have a look at it.
You bet I would.
Here you are. Tell me if you think I ought to hand it over.
What curious handwriting.
Yes, he's left-handed.
When did this come? Not when you were ill, surely.
No, about 2 days ago.
Then he's still in London. The fellow must be mad. He's such a horrible-looking creature. He's bound to be recognized at once.
Well, I guess he knows what he's up to. If he says he has a safe hiding place, isn't that enough?
Oh, sure. Well, let's forget the gentleman. Even the mention of his name seems to upset you.
But what shall I do with the letter?
If you like, I'll take it along to police headquarters. I think you'd be foolish to keep it from them.
All right. Do as you think best. And tell them they can come along and see me when they like. I'll give what help I can.
Good. I'll call in there on my way home. Oh, don't get up. Paul let me out.
Hugh, I'd like you to be here when they come.
You mean the police? Of course I will. I'm your medical advisor, and you can rely on me to see they don't take too much out of you. Now, don't let it worry you. You needn't say a word more than you want.
All right, I'll claim privilege as soon as the questions get too hot to be comfortable.
By the way, we owe a lot to little Hetty, you know.
Do you think I don't know that? We both of us have been out of the BMA by now, if she had told what she knew.
I went out to her grave on Sunday. It was covered with flowers.
Was it?
If you sent them, Henry, make quite certain there's nothing to show who they came from. You can't afford to be connected with her in any way.
I'll make sure. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Well, Poole, your master's getting on splendidly, isn't he?
Indeed he is, Dr. Lanyon, sir. Getting his appetite back and more his usual self.
Oh, by the way, there was a letter handed in for him during the last 2 days. What was the messenger like?
A letter, sir?
Yes. I have it here.
No letter like that was handed in that I know of, Dr. Lanyon.
Are you sure?
Quite sure, sir. Nothing has come except by post and only circulars at that.
Could anybody else have taken it in?
No, sir. Maud, the parlor maid, is away sick, and I've been answering the door myself.
Oh, well, there must be some mistake. Goodbye, Poole.
Goodbye, Dr. Lanyon, sir.
Why, hello, you, my boy. Very nice of you to come along and visit an old man. Sit down and help me sample this bottle of wine.
It looks a fine and venerable one, sir.
Oh, it is indeed. I was going through the cellar a while ago and found 3 of these bottles tucked away in a corner where they'd been forgotten. Look at the date, 1817. Older than I am.
By Jove, I'm in luck's way. Fancy dropping in at a time like this.
You never can be sure how the cork is held, though. Wait till I draw it. Oh, sound as a bell. They did things properly in those days, eh? None of your cheap, careless work then. Pass me those glasses. There you are now. Taste the kind of wine your grandfather's vinted. Marvelous. You mark the bouquet. There's the hot glow of autumn afternoons and the perfume of the south in that. A royal wine. Now, you sit down by the fire and tell me what brought you here.
Well, Mr. Winter, I want your advice and help about something.
Oh, I'd be glad to help you in any way I can. You know that.
Yes, I do. And I also had to have someone whose discretion I could rely on absolutely. It's a very peculiar matter.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, then.
Well, it's about this letter.
Edward Hyde. A letter from Edward Hyde? Where did you get this?
I got it from Henry Jekyll this afternoon.
Yes, I see it's addressed to him, but it's dated the 25th, and that's the day before yesterday. Where did it come from?
Henry says it has no postmark. As a matter of fact, it was delivered by hand.
The man's in London.
Yes, he must be.
Have the police seen this?
Not yet. I intend to take it to them tomorrow.
Oh, you must. This is tremendously important. He's disappeared so completely that they've been afraid he's got away out of the country.
But you can see he seems perfectly confident of being able to evade them.
Oh, we'll see about that. He's got to show his face sometime or another, and such a hideous creature as he is will be recognized at once.
You saw him, didn't you?
Indeed I did. When I was with my poor old friend Utterson, we saw him trample a little child underfoot and beat it with his stick. Little did we dream that he was to do the same to Utterson, only this time with no one to stop him.
You're an authority on handwriting, Mr. Winter, aren't you?
Oh, yes, it's been a hobby of mine.
What do you think of Hyde's?
Curious hand. Angular, untidy.
Have you ever seen another like it?
Not that I can think of offhand.
Compare it with this.
Let me see now. Yes. Yes, that's very strange. Where did you get the second note?
I've had it in my possession some time.
You know who the writer is?
I know him very well.
Then you must tell the police his name at once.
Why?
Because the man who wrote this torn scrap you've just given me and the one who signs himself Edward Hyde are one and the same person.
Yes. I rather expected you to say that.
But why are you so calm? Don't you recognize the importance of this? The first letter is written in an obviously disguised hand. If it really is by Edward Hyde...
Then I've only got to take the police to the man who wrote the second note, and we've got our murderer.
We've got someone who's been willing to forge for him?
Yes. You're right. The thought of that's been weighing like a load on me ever since I saw the resemblance.
But why should you shield him? Anyone who would try to help a beast like Hyde deserves the worst that can be thought of him.
You don't know what you're saying.
But why? Who is he? Who wrote this second note?
Henry Jekyll.
What? Henry Jekyll?
Yes. Now you know why I feel as I do.
But Henry Jekyll forged for a murderer?
Oh, it's all a part of his illness. He had the most frightful delusions when he was unconscious. Times he used to think that he was committing the murder himself.
Mercy on us.
Yes. He was saying to me today that he felt he had no right to marry Margaret because he had some doubts as to his mental stability. And to tell the truth, I'm beginning to wonder myself.
Poor chap. Oh, this is terrible.
So I don't think we'll say anything about the letter.
I think you're right. Come. I'll throw it in the fire, and then we'll have another glass of wine. I've got a kind of chill in my blood. Poor Henry.
Poor Margaret.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Now, would you tell us, Dr. Jekyll, everything you know about this man Hyde?
I don't know very much, Inspector.
But you've known him for a number of years.
Yes, that's true.
When did you meet him first?
Well, you see, it's difficult to remember offhand, but, well, I'd say I made my first acquaintance with him about, 5 years ago.
How did you meet him?
Well, he read about some of my experiments in a medical journal. He came here and made himself known to me.
Why was that? Was he a medical man?
Oh, no, far from it. But he was very interested. He had a lot of knowledge for a layman.
And you were so impressed with him that you let him help you at times?
Yes, that's right.
What was he interested in particularly?
Well, for a very long time, I've been searching for a drug that would have a certain effect on the will. He used to let me experiment on him.
Oh, how do you mean?
Well, he used to take doses of the mixtures I'd compound and allow me to watch the results.
Oh, rather dangerous, wasn't it?
Very dangerous. I warned him that he did it absolutely at his own risk. I've got papers in my laboratory in which he made a full statement that he knew what he was doing and that I was in no way to be held responsible for anything that might happen.
Well, he must have had plenty of nerve.
Well, he certainly had that.
And what was the result of these experiments? Did any of them come off?
None. We met with total failure. At the time of his disappearance, we were starting on a new line, but hadn't really gone far enough to find anything fresh.
How often did you see him?
Oh, that's hard to say. Sometimes he'd be here pretty constantly, and sometimes he'd disappear for weeks.
And you say you have no idea where he went?
None at all. He hated to be questioned, and so I didn't ask. Of course, my interest in him was purely scientific.
And what about this girl, this Hetty Wilson? Did he ever speak to you about her?
Never. I didn't even know of her existence until a few weeks before she died.
And how did you hear about her then?
When my father died, I was away on the continent. I hadn't left any address, and Dr. Lanyon went down to Hyde's house to see if he knew where I could be found. He met Hetty Wilson then and told me about her later on.
I see. And how did it happen that Dr. Lanyon knew Hyde's address?
Well, we were old friends. He knows all I do. I told him about Hyde and the work we were doing together.
Well, that seems reasonable enough.
Look here, Inspector. What are you driving at? Why shouldn't I know where Hyde lived?
Oh, no reason at all, Dr. Lanyon. But so very few people did. I was naturally curious.
I see. Well, are there any other questions, Inspector?
Did he never tell you anything about his private life? Where he got his money from, or where he went to when you didn't see him?
Well, I've told you, my interest was scientific. I didn't like him. I didn't want to know how he lived or what he did. He was useful to me and gave me a lot of help.
But he had the run of your house, used to be here at all sorts of times. Once he slept in your bed.
What's that? Who told you that?
One of your servants. A maid who was dismissed for trying to see into your laboratory.
That girl?
Yes. She told me that she'd gone into your room with your early morning tea and was horrified to see Hyde lying in your bed.
And what if he was? The man risked his life again and again for the sake of my experiments. We often worked late into the night.
Yes, that's quite understandable. All I'm trying to get at, sir, is this. That you were on pretty close terms with him.
But I repeat that I know nothing about his private life. Nothing at all.
Well, if that's the case, I'm afraid I'm not much further on than before. I'm sorry to have troubled you, Doctor.
Oh, that's quite all right. I'm sorry to have been so little help.
Yes, it's a bit of a blow to me. I'd counted rather a lot on what you could tell me. You're the only one who seems to have ever had anything to do with him, except that girl, Hetty. I'd give a lot to know just why she killed herself. Shielding someone, I'll be bound.
And, you've no idea who it might be?
Not a notion. If I had, I might be able to track down Hyde. Well, I'll not stop till I do. The man's a maniac. He's bound to break out again unless he's caught. His kind don't stop at one murder.
Why, Henry.
Dr. Jekyll, what's the matter?
It's all right. Just leave me alone with him. He's not well, you know. He'll be all right in a little while.
Oh, I'm awfully sorry. Indeed I am.
And he'll be all right. Just leave me.
Yes, of course. I'll get in touch with you later on. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Now, take this, old man.
I'm all right.
Now, don't try to get up. Just take things easily. What was it? One of the dizzy turns?
Just a kind of blackness that comes over me at times.
Well, keep still and don't worry. Our friend has gone, and I don't think he'll be troubling you again. You were a great disappointment to him.
Yes, I hoped I was.
Dr. Jekyll.
Well, nurse, I thought I'd call in and give you a surprise.
Oh, you certainly have. Does Dr. Lanyon know you're here?
Not that I know of. Is he here?
Yes, he's with the outpatients now.
Then bring me a gown. I'll put it on and give him a hand. We might as well give him a shock, too.
Why, Dr. Jekyll.
Oh, what's the matter? Oh, yes. My hair. How do you like it?
It's as white as snow. Oh, you must have been ill.
Oh, well, it's all over now. I'm going to start work again, and we'll soon forget all about it.
Yes, I'm awfully glad to see you back again.
Why didn't you come and see me while I was ill?
You had plenty of others to look after you.
Didn't you think I might have wanted to see you and hear about your clinic?
Hear about the clinic, maybe. But I don't flatter myself you wanted to see me.
Why not?
Oh, I did call once or twice, but they always told me that Miss Utterson was with you.
I see. Surely that old jealousy doesn't exist anymore.
What makes you think that? Does it alter how I feel for you, just because I know I haven't got a hope?
Shh. Help me on with my gown, will you? Well, been kept pretty busy.
Oh, not more than usual. I think some of the patients have dropped off since you've been away.
Well, perhaps I'd better keep away altogether, and they might all get well.
Oh, when you've seen the number in the outpatients room, you won't think that.
Well, come along, then. Let's get going. Hello, little girl. What's the matter with you?
One of her legs is shorter than the other, Doctor. We've heard wonderful things about you, and we wondered if you could do anything for it.
Let me have a look at it. Now, don't be frightened. I won't hurt. I just want to take your boots and stockings off so that I could have a good look. Now, tell me, what's your name?
Tessie, sir.
Tessie. That's a pretty name. How old are you?
I'm 9, sir.
9? Do you go to school?
Yes, sir. I'm in 4th class.
Well, 4th class. Fancy that. That's pretty good for 9 years old. Now, come along. Can you stand up over there and let me see how you walk?
Do as the doctor tells you, Tess.
Yes, Mother.
Did she have some sort of accident? That looks like the result of an injury to me.
Oh, yes, she did about 2 years ago.
Oh, I see. Why, what happened?
Oh, it was a terrible thing, Doctor. The poor little thing was running along the street one time late at night. She'd been for a doctor, and you'll hardly believe this, sir, but a fella took to her with a stick. Beat her something terrible, he did. And if it hadn't been for 2 other gentlemen who was near, I think he would have killed her.
What happened? Did you hand him over to the police?
No. He paid us £100 to say nothing. But I can see now that we did wrong. We didn't think he'd done her so much harm. But look at her. She's maimed for life.
Mommy.
There, dear. Now, never you mind. The kind doctor will make you better again. Oh, I didn't ought to have told you this in front of her, sir. She gets that upset to hear it. She's never been the same child since. The fright half killed her.
Have you any idea who the man was?
No, not for certain. I never seen him myself. But they do say, sir, that it's him that done that murder a little while ago. That fella, Edward Hyde. Oh, sir, can you help her?
Yes. Yes, I'll help her. I'll make her well again. If it's the last thing that I ever do.
and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
I'm afraid Dr. Jekyll is rather busy just at present. Who shall I tell him is called?
Well, my name is John Fairley. I've called several times at his house and haven't been able to find him. That's why I came down here to the clinic.
Well, if you'd care to come into my room and wait a while, I'll tell him you're here.
If he'd just let me know when I could see him.
Well, I believe I can hear him coming now.
Peters, are you there?
Yes, Doctor.
I'd say, will you... Why, hello, John. Why, what are you doing here?
I was wondering if I could see you sometime. Sorry to bother you down here, but there seemed no other way of finding you.
Oh, that's all right. Anything important?
Yes, it is rather.
Well, I've about 10 minutes now. If that's any good to you, I'm not due at the hospital till 2 o'clock.
Can we talk here?
Oh, I think so. You don't mind if we borrow your little room for a while, do you, nurse?
No, not at all. I'll close the door and see you're not disturbed.
Thanks, that will do fine. Well, now, John, what is it?
Well, to be quite frank, it's about Margaret.
I had an idea it was.
What are you going to do about it, Jekyll? I know this might be called infernal cheek on my part, but it's far from being that.
I know.
Everyone understood that the marriage couldn't go on after that terrible business of Mr. Utterson and then your long illness. But that's all past now, and you don't even seem to want to talk about it.
Margaret has told you this, I take it?
I've had to wring it out of her. Don't think that she's been complaining, but I knew she was unhappy, and I made her tell me.
I'm not blaming her, John. I'm glad she's got someone she can take her troubles to.
You are. Great heavens, Jekyll, what's the matter with you? Are you playing fast and loose with Margaret? You've been engaged to her for years now. Do you intend to marry her or not?
Sit down, old man. Let us talk this over quietly. I know how you feel about Margaret, and I'm not going to feel resentful, no matter what you say, but it's very important that you shouldn't feel bad about me.
I can't understand you, and that's the plain truth. Margaret's the most lovely girl in the world. I'd give my very life to be in your place, and you don't seem to want her.
What makes you think that, John?
There's not the slightest reason in the world now why you shouldn't marry her. But every time she talks about it, you evade her and talk about something else. Don't you love her anymore?
Might it not be that I love her too much to marry her?
What do you mean?
Things sometimes happen in men's lives that debar them forever from the right to marry, if they have a spark of decency in their makeup.
What? You...
Oh, it's not any petty little aftermath of a bygone sin. This is something that I simply couldn't begin to tell you about. It's beyond the scope of any ordinary experience.
And then if that's the case, what are you going to do? Will this thing pass in time?
I don't know.
And you're going to keep Margaret in this state of uncertainty till you do find out?
No, I'm not going to do that, John.
Don't you understand that you're ruining all her chances of finding happiness somewhere else by holding her to her promise to you?
Yes, I understand. I deserve all your reproaches, John. You did quite right to come and talk to me about it. I'll set her free.
Don't do it if it's not absolutely necessary. I love her enough to be able to realize that no one will ever be the same to her as you. Any other man will merely be a sort of substitute for you.
I hope not, John. With all my heart, I hope that she'll come to care for you as I know you deserve.
If patience and understanding on my part can do it, she will.
Then I promise you I'll not stand in your way any longer. She's very precious to me, John. There's no one I know of that I'd sooner trust her to than you.
You know, when I came here, I felt I wanted to knock you down. Now I feel I want to take your hand and thank you. Though I don't know why.
Then we're going to be friends, are we?
As far as I'm concerned, we are.
Then take my hand, but forget about the thanks. If you can make her happy, I'll be more deeply in your debt than you can ever imagine. And now I think I'll go. I've got a big operation to perform. I'd like a little time to get a grip on myself again. This conversation hasn't been easy, you know.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry.
Well, goodbye. And good luck.
Goodbye.
Henry, dear, when are you going to take me down to your clinic again?
Don't you think you've had enough of sick people for a while? You nursed me for several weeks, you know.
And see what a good job I made of it. You're almost as well as you ever were.
You're a born nurse, Margaret, and no mistake. As a rich man's wife, your greatest talent will be lost.
Why should it be? I'll also be the wife of a doctor, don't forget. Henry, what's the matter? Why do you turn away like that?
Give me your hand, darling. Let's lean over the edge of this bridge and watch the water trickle over the rocks.
You're evading me. You always do whenever I speak of our marriage. Henry, you've got to be honest with me. I can't stand this much longer.
Dearest, I brought you out into the country today so that we could have a good long talk. It's so perfect out here. I hoped the beauty around us would help.
Help? Why are we in need of help?
I've got to hurt you very much, I'm afraid.
No.
Oh, don't draw away from me. Give me your hand again, please.
Oh, what's the matter with you? Why are you so strange? You've never been the same since your illness.
You haven't thought that I've loved you any less, have you?
No, not that. Something else. Some underlying strangeness that I haven't been able to get at. What is it, Henry? Can't you tell me?
I brought you here to try. I want you to know, dear, that I've never loved you so much in all my life as I do now. And I say what I'm going to say because of that.
You don't have to tell me. I know.
What do you know, my sweet?
You're going to say you aren't going to marry me at all. Oh, why don't you answer me? Why don't you tell me I'm wrong? It can't be true.
I have no choice.
What do you mean?
There are certain things that put a man beyond the pale of decent society. They're nameless things, crimes and horrors of the night. I have committed them.
No, it's not true. Not you.
Hold fast to me while I tell you, sweet. Your father told you certain things about me. Put them forward as reasons why you shouldn't marry me.
I never believed them. Never.
But you should have. He was right. Only he didn't know the full, hideous truth.
Oh, what is this you're saying? Henry, it's because you're still not better of your illness. You used to have the most terrible delusions then, imagining you were committing the most frightful crimes. This is only part of it.
I wish to God it were. Oh, no, my darling. I'm sane and in my right mind. And I know that everything I say to you is less than the truth.
But when? How? Where did you do these things?
Oh, don't ask me for details. I can't tell you. You must never know the full extent of my degradation.
But I can't just be put off with hints. I'm a grown woman now. This is too dreadful a thing to be accepted without facts.
Do you remember what the old gypsy woman, Mother Haggerty, once told us long ago?
I remember something.
There's broken lives and broken hearts and a load of sorrow that will rest upon your soul to weigh it to the ground.
Stop it. Stop. She was an old crazy creature. What could she know?
What indeed? And yet she saw into a future that has come to pass, down to the very last degree.
It hasn't. I remember something else. She said there was the gallows sign in your hand. That hasn't come true.
Supposing I were to tell you that even that is true.
Then I'd know that you're mad.
Listen. There's a man named Edward Hyde.
Don't speak of him.
But I must, because Hyde is the reason that I've got to say these things to you. If it were not for him, well, what's the good of that?
But what has Hyde got to do with you and me?
Everything. Hyde and I. Everything that man did. Every hideous atrocity. Every crime he committed was shared in and connived at by me.
You're not serious. You can't expect me to believe that.
It's the truth.
But it isn't possible. Hyde is one person, you another. How could you be responsible for what he did?
I could have wiped him out of existence, instead of which I set him free to do what he liked.
How could you have done so? Was he so much under your influence?
He was my creation. I had conjured him up out of the pit of hell, where he belonged.
Oh, now I know you're not well. This is madness.
It must seem like that. Very well, then. Let it go at that. But you wouldn't wish to marry a madman, would you, Margaret?
Oh, I don't know what I wish. I don't want to marry anyone.
Oh, you mustn't say that, dear. You mustn't say that. There's John, isn't there?
You'd have me marry him?
I think he could make you happy.
Oh, how could you? Have you thought it all out?
I've been thinking what's the best thing for you for a long time, dearest. Oh, Margaret, look at me. Look at my eyes and tell me. Do you see anything in them but love for you and pain at losing you?
Oh, but why? Why? If I love you and you love me, what does it matter?
I've committed almost every crime in the calendar, Margaret, my darling. But to take advantage of your love and innocence and loyalty is something that even I have not fallen low enough to do. Oh, let me hold you in my arms just once again. Let me kiss you. Feel your cheek against mine. Your tears. Your precious tears, my darling. Oh, let me drink your tears. Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Well now, nurse, that seems to be the lot for today. Oh, how's that kettle of yours?
Just about boiling. Would you like some tea?
Very much. I'll have a word to Dr. Lanyon, and then I'll be along.
You'll find him in the dispensary talking to Nancy.
Oh, good Lord, not again. What do I pay that young woman for if she does nothing but lure my assistant away from his work?
I wish they'd hurry up and get it over.
Well, judging by what I saw through the glass door last night, he isn't wasting any time.
Neither is she, if you ask me.
Well, I imagine we'll be giving them our blessing very soon. I'll be sorry when she goes. She's a first-rate chemist.
She was talking about doing some research. Perhaps she could work with you.
Not with me. I've given up. I've given up all that now.
Oh, surely not. Oh, that seems wrong. You were doing such valuable work.
Enough to prove to me, Peter, my dear, that insufficient knowledge is an extremely dangerous thing.
Oh, but you mustn't. What about your work on anesthetics and the possibility of nerve blocks?
How did you know about that?
I'm an ardent reader of the Lancet, don't forget.
And you just forget all you ever read about me. It's over and done with. And if you could look into my laboratory, you'd find the whole place covered with dust.
I never thought you'd give up.
Give up? Is that what you call it?
Isn't it that?
Why do you think so?
You had a bad breakdown from overwork, but that doesn't mean you should give it up altogether.
Nurse Peters, do I take it that you're daring to criticize the conduct of your medical superior? Where's your knowledge of professional etiquette?
My professional etiquette isn't strong enough to stand the thought of you becoming a back number.
Woman, go and boil your kettle and leave these matters to your betters.
You can make a joke of it, but I think you ought to be ashamed of yourself, Henry Jekyll.
Ah, bless you, Peter. You're the first person who scolded me like that since Mother died. I didn't know how much I'd missed it.
If it's a mother you're in need of...
Oh, don't think that you'd be any good as a candidate. You're far too young and pretty when you blush like that.
Oh, please don't.
I mean it.
Go and see Dr. Lanyon. You're wasting time again.
Well, I won't come back if you don't give me toasted crumpets with my tea.
You've been looking in my cupboard.
Oh, no, I haven't. I've got second sight.
Well, then perhaps you can tell me what I'm going to give you to put on them.
Of course I can. Strawberry jam.
Wrong. It's honey Mother sent me up from Devonshire, and clotted cream.
Devonshire? Oh, perhaps I can call and see her when I'm down there.
Are you going to Devonshire?
Yes. There's someone down there I particularly want to see.
Will you be going soon?
Oh, as soon as I can fix things up to get away. It's one of the things I want to see Dr. Lanyon about. So I'd better make sure of catching him before he goes.
Stranger down this way, sir?
Well, not really. I've been down here once or twice before.
Can't say as I recall your face. Strange. There bain't many as comes this way that old Jeremy can't remember.
You don't get many visitors, I suppose.
Just now and again, sir. Now and again. Out of the way we be, but none the worse for that.
Indeed you're not. This is a very pretty little village you've got.
Aye, snug it be, tucked in at the back of them hills. I ought to see them come autumn time, when they have us out. Rare sight they be, and no mistake. Stopping long in these parts?
No, not long. I've just come down on business, as a matter of fact. I wonder, can you tell me if any of the Trelawney family are still in the old house?
Trelawney? Aye, that they be. There's old Samuel and his daughter, the same as they always was. It's not likely that they'd ever be leaving the place.
And young Sam?
Aye, Sammy went to South Africa a year or so gone. Naught's been heard of him, as far as anybody knows.
He, didn't get married then?
To Widow Cole's lass. Nay, that were called off long afore he went. She were fit for nothing since that accident she had.
And what became of her?
Well, when her mother died, she were took in by her auntie down at Grogley Halt. Been there this 2 years or more.
And Hester and the old man Trelawney are still at the farm? I wonder, would he see me if I called?
He might. Then he might take a fit into his head and set the dogs on you. Old Samuel's got mortal bitter since young Sammy went away. Oh, they do say it were partly his own doing.
Oh, well, I think I'll take a chance about the dogs. Good day to you.
Good day, sir. Now, what might a young swell like that be doing in these parts? Sticking his nose into other folks' business.
Badger, Rufus, Barney, come here. Stop that barking.
Lie down. Be quiet, will you?
Good afternoon. Be you wanting to see someone?
You're Miss Trelawney, aren't you?
Yes, that's right.
Well, I've come up from London. I was wondering, could I see your father?
Father doesn't see many strangers. What was it about?
Well, I've been asked to come and see him on behalf of a man named Edward Hyde.
Edward Hyde?
Yes.
You'd best not mention that name in this house.
I think if your father would listen to me, I might be able to do something that would make your memory less bitter.
Esther, who's there?
A gentleman's come up from London, Father. He wants to see you.
What about?
I think you'd best be coming inside. Father's not left his chair these 2 years now. If you'll just step this way and mind your head on the lintel. The doors are made low in these parts.
Thank you. Oh, Jekyll is my name. Dr. Henry Jekyll.
What are you talking about, Hester? Who is this stranger? What does he want?
I'm bringing him in now, if you'll only have patience. Through this door on your left, Doctor. This is Dr. Jekyll, Father. He's got something he wants to talk to you about.
Well, if it's about selling the place, he might as well save himself his breath. There's been 9 generations that Trelawney is living here, and I'll not be the one to let it pass into other hands.
It's all right, Mr. Trelawney. I haven't come to try and get your farm away from you.
Well, what have you come for, then? What's brought you all the way from London?
I've come at the request of a man I happen to know. He asked me to come down here to try and make amends for an injury he once did you.
A man did me an injury? Oh, there's only one man that I know of who ever did that.
I haven't any doubt that we're thinking of one and the same person. I'm referring to Edward Hyde.
Did you say he was a friend of yours? If that's so, you can get out of this house. No man who has anything to do with him can ever stay here.
Father, calm yourself. You'll be getting bad again if you get so worked up.
And then what does he mean, coming here talking about Edward Hyde? Has he come to torment us and remind us of things best forgotten?
Oh, no, I've come to try and make amends.
How could you do that? Can you bring back my son to me and wipe out the disgrace of that fine girl?
Well, I came to see you. You see, I can't undo the past, but there may be some means of making the future a little better.
Who are you? What have you to do with such a man as Hyde?
Well, I can't tell you that, but let me say that I'm, in a way, his executor.
Executor? Then he's dead.
Oh, no, not dead, but gone away.
I know. He's disappeared to save himself from the gallows. If ever a man was ripe for the hangman,
Father, try to keep calm.
How can I keep calm when I think of that man? I've never ceased to regret that I didn't choke him with these 2 hands, the way I wanted to when I first set eyes on him.
Dr. Jekyll, I really think you'd better be going. Father's not well enough to stand excitement.
Then can I have a talk to you?
Some other time, maybe. I'll have to see to Father now. He's looking very bad.
Well, I'm a doctor, don't forget. Now, let me feel his pulse. I promise not to upset him anymore.
Very well. But for mercy's sake, don't talk about that man.
I won't. Now, Mr. Trelawney, just lie quiet and let me see how that heart of yours is behaving. That's better. That's right. Now, just let your wrist relax.
Well, it'll be all right soon.
Of course you will. Of course you will. Well, I'll go now, and I'll not trouble you any more. You'll be all right, I think. The heart is rapid, but it's beating quite evenly.
Will you come out here? I want to speak to you.
Why, certainly.
Where did you get that ring you're wearing?
Why do you ask?
It's the same that he had on his hand.
He? You mean Hyde?
Yes. I'll never forget it. He had it on the night he came and told us about my brother Sam. I remember the way the light shone on it.
You're quite right. It is his. He gave it to me as a memento.
Memento of him? All we've been trying to do is forget him.
Well, Miss Trelawney, if you'll only hear what I've come to tell you, I think you'll be able to forget him much easier.
All right. I'll come and see you then. Where will you be?
I've taken a room in the little inn in the village. Could you come down there?
I'll come down later on after Father's gone to sleep.
Very well. I'll wait there for you. Call me if you get worried about Mr. Trelawney. I'm awfully sorry to have upset him like that.
You weren't to know. But the mere mention of that man's name is enough to make him bad for days.
I think I do know. Everything.
Hyde never told you the whole truth of it.
He had no secrets from me.
Then no wonder your hair's gone white and you're still a young man. The things that man must have carried in his heart would be enough to haunt you for the rest of your days.
They do. That's why I've come down here, to try and lay a ghost. Will you help me?
All right. I'll come down this evening, after it's got dark.
I'll wait for you, in the parlor of the little inn.
My dear listeners, the tension boils over, doesn't it? Dr. Jekyll thought he could control the beast, that he could indulge Hyde's appetites just enough to keep the monster satisfied while he's holding on to his precious mortality. But oh, what's a fool's dream. Hyde was never just a visitor. He was always the true master of the house. With his potion supply nearly gone, Jekyll finds himself trapped in a walking nightmare. The transformation are no longer in his hands. His body betrays him, twisting, warping, pulling him into Hyde's merciless grasp, whether he wills it or not. And now, the authorities are closing in. The walls are closing in. The truth is closing in. Jekyll has only one option left. A final experiment, a final drink, the final escape. Will it be enough to end the nightmare, or is Hyde destined to have the last laugh? Oh, my little lurkers, let's find out, shall we?
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Mind you, I'd have knowed naught of all this I'm telling you if it hadn't have been for Billy Pedlar, who was coming home from market and heard the goings on. He got off his horse and went to take a peep through the window, and he seen Hyde fair tear the ring from off her hand.
I was wondering how you knew so much.
There bain't much as Mrs. Me, sir, I can tell you that.
So it seems.
Speaking of finger rings, that be a right queer one you're wearing now, if you'll excuse me for remarking on it.
Yes, yes, it is rather unusual. It belonged to my father.
Oh, did it now? I had a thought run through my head when I seen it, but I must have been mistaken.
Why, what did you think?
Well, Billy Pedlar told me about the ring that I'd took off the Widow Cole's hand. He'd seen her wearing it afore, you know, and I'd have sworn it were the same as you be wearing now.
Yes, you're quite right. Hyde did wear it. I'd lent it to him for a while.
Oh, and he were a friend of yours?
Well, not exactly a friend, but I had a good deal to do with him. In a way, I was responsible for him. That's why I've come down here now to try and see what can be done to make up for what he did.
It'll take more than the power of mortal man to undo what Hyde did.
Oh, but I can do something, surely. Thurza's still alive, and And young Sam?
Aye, they be living, but there's a sight of bitterness and suffering that can't be wiped away. Maybe you don't know the full story.
Then tell me. I know Hyde's side of it, but I'd like to hear another.
Well, as I was saying, after Hyde had forced her to her knees afore him and made her beg his pardon, poor young Thurzer run out of the house and down the road like one demented. She was smarting from the blows her ma had fetched her. And then there were the times she took the knife to Hyde. Well, she was sobbing and crying to herself as she run out of the place and didn't seem to rightly know what she were at. Billy Pedler called to her, but she never heeded him nor stopped until she came to young Sam's place and banged on the door.
Sam, let me in.
Thurzer, Lord of mercy, lass, what become of you?
Oh, Sam.
Oh, hush now. Calm yourself and tell us what it's all about. Here, let me dry your eyes. Lord save us. What's this on your face? Did someone strike you?
Mother, she beat me, Sam, something cruel.
And why?
Because I took to her about the way she's going on. I couldn't stand it any longer, Sam, and that's the truth. I'm very ashamed I be.
And she struck you?
With a pot stick. I be black and blue.
Oh, I can see your face, poor lass. Come, let me bathe that cut above your eye and fetch you something to drink.
No, I couldn't touch a thing.
Oh, just a drink of milk or maybe some tea. 'Twill help to calm you. Come now, that's a good lass. Hester and Father be sitting in the kitchen. We'll go into them and tell them what it is that's happened to you.
No. I shouldn't have come. I should have hid my shame. What'll your father say when he hears about it?
Don't you take no notice of him. He's an old man with a bitter tongue. It's me you've got to take heed of, and I'll say you did right to come here. Where else should you go?
I hadn't nowhere else. Since Mother's took to carrying on so brazen, there ain't hardly no one as'll speak to me.
Oh, we'll change all that. You and me'll be wed. And I'd like to see the man or woman that scorned my wife. Come along now, don't be afeard. We'll tell the old man, and I'll not stand for any of his goings-on where you're concerned.
Oh.
What's the matter, lass?
My wrist. You took my wrist.
Has your wrist been hurt, too? Let me look at it. Oh. How come you by this? Where'd you get these bruises and these finger marks?
Oh, Sammy, it were him. He all but broke it.
Him? Do you mean Hyde?
Fair mad I were. I can't tell you about it, but I tried to kill him, Sam. I tried to drive a knife into him. I hated him that much.
Lord have mercy. And he did this to you?
He grabbed me by the wrist and made me drop the knife. And then he forced me down on my knees and made me beg his pardon and thank him for his kindness to Mother.
By crikey, I'll choke the cur for this.
Who's there, Sam?
It be Thurza, Father. She's in trouble.
Bring her here, then.
Come along, lass. Dry your tears. Hester'll take care of you. And I'll be off to deal with Hyde.
Oh, look out for him, Sam. He'd do anything.
He'll not do what he's done to you and get clear of it. Come, here's the kitchen. Go ye in and bide with Hester.
Why, sir, that is a long time since you last come here. Saints alive, what's happened to you?
Fetch some water and a piece of clean rag, Hester. Thurza's in no state to be worried. It's help she needs.
What's the meaning of it? How did she come by the bruises and neck cuts on her cheek?
She had trouble with her mother.
Her mother, eh? Why did she come here?
Well, where else should she go?
Well, stick in her own place, not go dragging decent folks into the shame and disgrace they're not responsible for.
Father, shame on you to speak to Thurza so.
It's all right. I shouldn't have came. I'm sorry. I'll go.
Thurza, you stop where you are.
No, Sam, I'll go.
Not while I'm here. You won't.
Send her away, let her pass.
Would you let her go back to that house? Would you see what's been done to her?
What's that got to do with me?
It's got a lot to do with me. Thursday's my lass, and I'll not stand by and see her treated ill. Not by you nor anybody else.
Then it's the worse for you. Because I'll not have one of her kind in my house so long as I'm Master Hyde.
One of her kind? What do you mean?
It's an ill bird that'll come out of that nest. Her father was a waster and a drunkard. And her mother? Ha! Well, let's say no more of her.
Oh, stop it, stop. I never should have come here. And I'll go. You go after her, Sam, and fetch her back.
If he does, I'll slam the door in both their faces.
I'll take a chance on that. I'm going for Thursday.
Father, ben't you ashamed of yourself? Speaking to the poor lass like that and her in such a pass.
But who brought her to it?
Is it her fault? Was she ever aught but a decent, right-living, respectable girl, no matter what her mother might have done?
There's bad blood in that brood now, and none of it in mine.
You've never wanted Sam to marry her, and this suits you fine.
It proves what I say. There's bad blood, and it'll show even though you wait till you're 40, like the widow Cole.
And if Thursday ever comes to any wrong, it'll be you who helped to drive her there.
Well, what's that you say?
She's in mortal trouble, and you've driven her out, and you call yourself a Christian.
You shut your mouth, girl. I'll have no child of mine talk to me that way.
And I'll not stand by and see a poor lass driven out when she's so sore in need of help. You can get your own supper. I'm going off to help Sam find her and to bring her back.
And that was the beginning of the old man's sickness. When they come back, they found him lying on the floor of his kitchen. And it were days afore he spoke, and he hasn't never set foot to the ground from that day to this. Oh, it were a black time all round that night, and all of it on account of that devil Hyde.
Tell me.
Didn't you say as Esther were coming down to see you sometime this evening?
Yes. She promised she would when I was out at their place today.
Well, she be coming now. Get her to tell you what happened that night out on the moors. She and Sam were there. She can tell you firsthand, which is more than I can do.
I wonder, will she?
Ask her. No, I'll go out of here and leave the two of you alone. It'll be easier for her that way. Well, good night to you, and thank you kindly for the baccy and the ale.
Thank you for telling me so much. I'm very indebted to you.
To me? For gossiping? I must tell me daughter that. I doubt if she'll believe it, though. Good night, sir.
Good night, Jeremy. Good night. I want you to believe that I'd do anything in my power to set the rights, the wrongs you and your brother and Thurza have suffered at the hands of Hyde. The blackest day in my whole life was when I first set eyes on his hideous form and face.
Did you ever see the like of it? It fair made my blood run cold. Oh, how could Thurza's mother... Oh, well, that's all past and gone now. She's dead this 3 years past, and all her follies wear.
Dead?
Aye. She caught a chill that wild night we were searching on the moors for Thurza. Soaked to the bone she were. Naught we could do would make her come inside to cease the search. She were ill a long time after that, and never rightly got over it.
And where was Thurza found?
At the bottom of one of the old tin workings. She'd been there 2 days before Sam caught a glimpse of her.
But how did she get there?
The night were awful wild. I guess she didn't rightly know what she were about and stumbled as she ran along. She tried to save herself, poor lass, and hung on to a bit of a bush as she slipped down the side. That's how Sam got track of her. He seed it where it had pulled out by the roots, and he climbed down to look.
But she wasn't killed.
Not killed, but mortal hurt. Her back it were. She's lay like a log ever since.
And Sam went off to South Africa.
He never forgave his father for driving her out that night, and never a word has he spoken to him since. It's all but broke poor father's heart. He be a hard man, but Sam were his only son, and the light of his eyes.
Well, There's something I can do. I can bring Sam back from South Africa and give your father back his son.
Aye, but what about poor Thursday?
I'm a doctor, a surgeon. I've done many things to help people who've been crippled. I can't say till I've seen her, but it may be possible.
To make her well again?
Don't hope for too much, but perhaps I can do something.
I'd go down on my knees and give thanks every day of my life if you could do something for Sam. It was that drove him off to South Africa as much as anything. He was set on marrying her, cripple or no cripple. And when she wouldn't hear of it, he couldn't stick the place no more.
Very well, then. That is my task. I must bring your brother back and give him Thurza, well and strong again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Thurza, I've reserved a special carriage on the train. Your whole bed will be lifted into it so that you can go up to London without ever having to move.
Even if you never do aught else for me, Doctor, I'll never forget how kind you've been and what a change you've made in life for me.
You just wait till I've finished. I haven't started yet. As soon as you get to London, I'm going to have you taken to a private nursing home. And then we'll get the best specialist in England to have a look at you.
Won't you be looking after me?
Of course I will, but I'll need help. There are plenty of things that I don't know.
I'd rather have you than anybody else, no matter how much they know.
You wait till Sir Humphrey sees you. You'll like him. He operated on the little Duke of Cumberland after he was thrown off his horse. They thought he'd never walk again, but a little while ago, I saw him playing football.
True? Be that true?
As true as you're going to get up off that bed of yours and walk across the room to me inside 6 months.
Aye, it do seem too wonderful to even think about. And me thinking I'd be lying here, stuck in this little room for the rest of me days.
Instead of which you're going up to London, and you're going to start life all over again. Oh, what's this? Not tears?
Oh, why should you do all this for me?
Will you do something for me?
Anything in all the world.
Well, get well and strong. Nothing you can ever do will mean so much to me as that. Will you promise?
I promise.
Come along, then. Put your arms around my neck. I'm going to carry you out of the carriage, outside, and then they'll come and get your bed and take it down to the station. Are you ready?
Aye, that I be.
Hold hard, then. Don't be afraid. I'll not let you fall.
I'd not be afeard of anything with you.
Well, Matron, how's my patient today?
Much the same, Doctor. Sir Humphrey's just having a look at her now. Would you care to go along?
No, I'll see him after he's finished. Has she been out in the garden today?
Yes, she had about 3 hours in the sun.
Make any attempt to walk?
2 of the nurses supported her.
But no success by herself?
None at all.
Strange. Ah, here's Sir Humphrey. I'll see what he has to say.
Oh, there you are, Jekyll. I got here a little early. Hope you don't mind my going ahead and seeing Miss Cole.
Not at all. I'm glad I wasn't there in a way. I'm anxious to hear what you think.
Well, to be quite frank, I'm a little at a loss. There's no reason at all why she shouldn't have begun to use her legs ages ago. After all, there was no fracture, just a severe dislocation of the spine. And once we get that right...
Yes, I know.
Of course, there was a certain amount of atrophy of the muscles from disuse. if only that fellow down in... where was it he lived?
Bodmin?
That's right, Bodmin. Well, if he'd had the sense to really find out what was the matter with her, she'd have been on her feet years ago.
So, what are we going to do?
Oh, just persevere. She's got an idea. She's going to fall. Now, if we could only get her walking without thinking about it...
you think she'd be all right?
Oh, of course she would. Physically, there's not a thing the matter.
All right. I think I've got an idea. Would you care to stay for a while and see?
See what?
If we can get her to walk without thinking of it.
Oh, how are you going to do that?
That's my secret. Is she back in her room?
Yes. They brought her inside to let me examine her.
Good. Well, let's go and see what we can do.
By the way, I was reading an article of yours in an old science magazine. Ever do any chemical research these days?
Now, Thurza, I want you to walk across this room.
Oh, I'll fall. I know I'll fall.
Oh, not you. I got Sir Humphrey to come along specially to tell you that there's not a thing the matter with you.
Then why can't I move my legs?
You only think you can't.
Am I as daft as all that?
You're not daft at all. You're just frightened.
What about?
That you're going to fall. Now, you're going to stand up, and I'm going to take away those crutches like this.
Oh, no.
Now. You must trust me, Thurza. And when I tell you there's nothing the matter, I mean it. Don't you remember how you promised me you'd do anything in the world for me?
Aye, and I would, too.
Then you've got to let me take your crutches and try to stand on your feet by yourself. Now, will you do that much?
I'll try.
Good girl. Now we'll do it. Now, are you ready?
Aye.
First one. Oh. Then the other. Steady.
Aye.
Steady now.
Oh.
Thurza.
Oh. Sam. Oh, Sam.
Steady now. What's all the fuss about, Thurza?
Oh, where did you come from? Oh, Sam, be it really you?
I don't know who else would be hugging you and kissing you like this.
Why, I walked. I walked.
Of course you did. Didn't Dr. Jekyll tell you to?
Dr. Jekyll? Why, he's gone.
Gone? Why, so he has. And the other one, too. Can you beat that now? Perhaps they guessed we'd like to be alone.
Oh, how did you get here? Where did you come from, Sam?
I got in yesterday by boat all the way from South Africa.
And why did no one tell me you were coming back?
Oh, that was part of his plan for curing you. He knew that there had to be someone to take your mind off yourself so that you'd walk without thinking about it.
Oh, Sam, it's like a miracle to have you back and to find that I can walk.
Oh, Thurza, steady now. Hang on to me. Perhaps you'd better not be too flash with standing up at first.
Oh.
Let me pick you up and carry you back to your chair.
Nay, let me walk. He said that there were nothing wrong with me. I want to prove that he were right. He said I'd walk through Maston Bridge back to me own home and that I'd not lie in the dark no more and see the face I had would hide.
He were right, lass. He were right. You'll walk through Marston Bridge to your own home, and I'll go with you till the day I die.
Henry.
Why, Margaret. You, of all people. Where did you come from?
I'm just up in London for a few days to do some shopping. I caught sight of you as you passed, and well, I ran after you, Henry.
I'm awfully glad you did. Come and sit down in this little park and tell me all about yourself. Where have you been all this time?
I went abroad for a while, and then I came back and went down to stay with Sir Robert and Lady Fairley. That's where I am now.
You're not making your home there permanently?
What do you mean, Henry?
Do I have to say?
You mean John?
Yes, John.
I thought I'd steeled myself against hearing you say things like that. But there's still hurt, I'm afraid.
Why? Because I want you to be happy.
That you can hope to hear me say I'm going to marry another man. Sometimes I wonder, did you ever love me at all?
Oh, Margaret.
I know. But if only you'd tell me why you won't marry me. If I had something positive to go on, it'd be easier. But you've given me nothing but hints and evasions.
Is it not enough, my dear, that I must renounce you forever? Must I also make you hate me before you'll consent to find happiness with someone else?
How can I do that? Could you?
You mean find happiness with someone else?
Yes. You and I grew together through the years, Henry. I never realized how close we were until I've been trying to forget you during the past 3 months.
You must forget. Don't you understand? You must.
I can't. That's what I came up to London for. Oh, I pretended I wanted to do some shopping. That wasn't so. I came to see you. I had to see you.
But you mustn't. You mustn't. You don't understand. You don't know what you're saying.
I know there'll never be anybody else for me. No matter what you've done or what you are.
Oh, Margaret. If you could only understand. You don't understand.
I know I don't. I'll never understand what it is that came over you. Why you suddenly changed when my father was...
Don't say it.
Henry.
Don't say it.
Don't look like that. You haven't still got that terrible thought that you were responsible for what happened?
I had allowed myself to forget. To forget for a little while. I'm glad that you reminded me.
Henry, what do you mean? What is this mad obsession that you've got? I was talking to Hugh Lanyon. He was telling me that you're trying to find all the people that Hyde has injured and to put things right for them.
You had no right.
You had every right. He's your friend and I'm the woman you love. Can't we know the secrets of your life?
No. Never. No one shall ever know that.
Henry, my darling, why do you shut me out? You look so haggard and so worn. Oh, and it's all so needless.
Why must you torture me? Haven't I told you that there could be nothing more between us?
But why? Why?
Because I no longer love you.
What? What did you say? Henry, it's not true. Not that. Oh, anything but that.
What else can it be? I've tried to spare you, but you forced me to it.
You mean there's someone else?
Yes. There's someone else.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I should have understood before. It was stupid of me. I'll go now. No, don't bother to get up. I'll just walk down that path and out through the gate. It's best to do it that way. Goodbye. I hope that you'll be very happy.
and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
You what?
Is it so astonishing?
Oh, how could you? It's not fair.
Why, what do you mean, Peter?
How dare you make fun of me?
Fun? I was never more serious in my life.
What? You mean it?
You don't think I'd say such a thing unless I did, do you?
Why,
Look here, I'd better go. Yes, perhaps you had. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for everything. Nonsense. Good luck. Thanks, I need it. Goodbye. Now, Peter, my dear, let's sit down and talk for a while. Oh, now, come, don't look at me like that.
I can't help it. I just can't believe you're serious.
Oh, how am I going to convince you?
Why did you ask me like that?
Yes, it was wrong of me, I'll admit. Well, let me do it all over again. Now, sit here beside me and give me your hand. Why, it's cold and trembling. And you're turning your face away. Now, don't tell me you're going to cry.
All right, I'll spare you that. They might be tears of joy, you know.
Might they? Do you really care for me so much, then?
I think you know the way I feel.
Then would you put up with me?
Why are you doing this? You haven't changed. I've been working with you for years now. I know just the way you feel towards me, and it isn't love.
Might it not be a great need of you, my dear?
Need of me? A plain, dull, unexciting nobody, and you with all you've got.
I'm the most poverty-stricken being in the world, if you only knew it.
You are?
Yes. You imagine that I'm a person to be envied with my fine home and big income. I tell you that I'm the most unhappy and desolate of beings.
Why didn't you tell me?
My troubles have been of my own making. It didn't seem right to burden another person with them.
But don't you know that I've longed to do things for you, anything, so long as it meant being with you?
You make me feel very ashamed of myself. And unworthy, Peter, dear. It's only the dregs of a life I'm offering you.
To someone who's been starving as long as I have.
I warn you, there may be things that you cannot even dream of. Things I can never even tell you about.
I've loved you for years without knowing a single thing about you.
But supposing I were to tell you that there are chapters in my life that I daren't let a single human creature know about. Not even the woman I marry.
Are they past? Are they over and done with?
Forever and ever. So help me, God.
Then I'll ask nothing about what's no concern of mine.
What strange and wonderful and terrible creatures you women are. You'll follow the path of your desire, no matter what pit it may lead you to. Oh, thank heaven for it. We men would be sorry things if we lost you through our sins. I'll try and not make you regret this, my dear.
Isn't it more likely that you'll regret?
Oh, why should I?
Because you still love Margaret Utterson.
Oh, that's not so.
Oh, yes, it is. Don't think that I'm reproaching you. I know that things are over between you. But you haven't forgotten her, and never will. But don't look like that. I understand. I don't hope to take her place. But the fact that there's room for me in your life as well is more than I'd ever hoped for.
Oh, Helen, my dear, what can I say to you? You're the finest, the truest person I've ever known. If you will do me the great honor to marry me, you'll give me a happiness I never hoped to deserve.
I'll marry you, Henry. And whatever this black thing is that you've got in the background of your life, I'll help you fight it. And if I don't succeed, if it gets too strong for me, I'll still love you, no matter what you've done or what you may become.
Hugh William
Do you take this woman, Nancy, to be your wedded wife, to love and to cherish in sickness and in health, for better or for worse, till death do you part?
I do.
And Nancy, Ruth, do you take this man, Hugh William, to be your husband?
The guard's just going to blow his whistle.
Oh, stick that of his hand, Henry. A man can't be allowed to Mr. Trevor's sitting off on his honeymoon.
In you get, Nancy. I'll throw in the bags.
Thanks.
Where the diggings is that porter?
He was coming a bit fine. I got to talk the Trevor again. Oh, Lord, where's my wallet? Don't say I've come without any money.
Take mine, you idiot.
Oh, here it is. Well, thank goodness I'm safe. That's great. Never live it down.
Nancy, I hope you put in some warm clothes. It might get cold up at the lakes.
Of course she has. Two of everything, didn't you, darling? Hurry, we're off. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Well, it's all over.
No, just beginning for them.
What shall we do now?
I should go and see Mrs. Wilkins and take some soup to Emmy Ryan.
And I should attend the meeting of the hospital board. But we're neither of us going to do the things we ought to do. We're going to have dinner somewhere and enjoy ourselves instead.
Are we?
Well, don't you think it's time we did something of the sort? When did you go out on a celebration?
I can't remember.
Then we'll make this one you'll remember for the rest of your life. And there's another thing we've got to do.
What's that?
Well, you've been engaged to me for almost 2 weeks now, and you're not yet wearing a ring. There's a shop in Bond Street that I have in mind, and
Oh, Henry.
would you like to go now? It's only 4 o'clock.
Like to?
Well, come along then. We'll take this cab and see if we can find something that you'll like. Now, you're quite sure you like the sapphire one best?
Oh, quite sure. Sapphires have always been my favorite stone, and it fits so perfectly, just as if it had been made for me.
Perhaps it was. It certainly looks very nice on your hand. If you're quite satisfied, my dear.
Oh, I'm more than satisfied. I just adore it.
You couldn't have anything better, sir. That's a perfect stone.
Here's my card, then. Will you send the account to me at this address?
Certainly, Dr. Jekyll. And if ever you'd like us to send you round some necklaces or other pieces of jewelry...
I'll let you know. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon.
And now, what do you say to a little drive around the park before we go and have dinner somewhere?
I'm wondering when I'm going to wake up. This can't be me, Henry.
Well, I feel a little that way myself. I haven't felt so happy as I do this moment for, well, I can almost say years.
I feel terribly like Cinderella.
Oh, but you're only going for a ride in a handsome cab, not a fairy coach.
I wouldn't change it. Not for all the fairy coaches in the world.
Fresh flowers for sale. Fresh flowers for sale.
Oh, look. Look, Henry.
Yes, there's an old woman there selling lilac. Let me buy you some. It'll match your dress.
Oh, but what will I do with it?
Well, just carry it for a while till you get tired of it and then throw it away.
Throw flowers away? Oh, I couldn't.
All right, we'll go and call on your old Mrs. Wilkins and give them to her.
Henry, how much champagne did you drink at Hugh and Nancy's wedding?
Not enough to account for the way I feel now. Something's happened to me. I feel as though a great load has rolled off my soul.
You know, you look happier than I ever remember you doing before.
The curse has lifted from me, Helen. I'm a free man.
Fresh flowers for sale. Lilac from the country. Buy a bunch of lilac.
Wait here for me. I'll just slip across the road and buy out her entire stock.
Mind you don't get run over. I don't think you're quite responsible just now.
Take care.
All right.
Even standard! Even and standard! Fresh through in the Addison murder case. £2,000 reward offered for the capture of Edward Hyde. Even standard! Even standard!
Henry! Henry! Let me get to him. Is he hurt? Is he hurt?
Oh, God, Miss Bunny, what's your
You stop dead in front of that team of horses. Never see
Where's my father? I shut out him. I swear I win.
Here, get back, everybody. Get back. Don't crowd around. I'm a trained nurse. Let
me attend to him.
Here, what's the matter here?
Been an accident, Constable. The gentleman walked fair in front of the horses, he did.
Where's the driver?
Yes, sir. It weren't my fault. I shouted after him. He were crossing the road, and all of a sudden he stopped dead in his tracks, right in front of the horses. I couldn't do a thing.
All right. Now, let's have a look at him. Now, stand back there. Hey, who are you, miss?
I'm a friend. I'm a trained nurse. I don't think he's very badly hurt. Wait a minute. He's starting to come round now.
Stunned a bit, maybe. Stand back there now and give him some air.
What happened?
Here. Don't talk to her. You've had an accident. Just lie still.
I was crossing the road and something made me stop. I remember. It was the newsboy. Get me a paper. Get me a paper.
Henry, lie still. You must lie still.
I must see that paper. It's all right, I tell you. I'm all right. I was only stunned.
Henry, keep still quiet. Up off the ground. There's nothing wrong with him at all.
Where's the paper, boy? Hey, boy. Give me a paper.
Henry, are you sure you're not hurt?
No, I'm not hurt. Oh, let's get away from this crowd. Let's get away, I say.
Not so fast, sir. I've got to get a few particulars.
What for? Why, what do you want to know?
Your name and address, sir. Now, move on, everybody. Move on. Go on. Now, make it lively.
Eagle Hall, the Evening Standard. Evening Standard. Fresh clue in the Edison murder case, the Evening Standard. £2,000 reward for the capture of Edward Hyde. £2,000 reward.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
But, Doctor, why can't I see her?
I've already told you, Mrs. Peters, that your daughter has had a most serious breakdown. She has to be kept absolutely quiet. If you were to go in and cause one of her attacks of hysteria, I really couldn't answer for the consequences.
I can't believe it somehow. She was perfectly well when I saw her that evening. We had supper together. She was worried over you, of course, but as soon as she got your note...
Did she tell you what was in it?
No. She just read it and said she'd had to go to your house at once and get you something.
She didn't say what it was.
I think she said something about some medicine.
Oh, is that all? That's quite right. I was working on an emergency case and needed a special drug.
She went off right away, and that's the last I ever saw of her. I just can't believe it somehow.
Mrs. Peters, you must believe me. These things are very terrible, but Helen has been working under terrific pressure for a long while. We never know when the break is going to come, but when it does...
Doctor, she'll get well again, won't she? You don't think it might be permanent?
It's too early to say, but with quiet and constant care.
Couldn't I help to look after her? I'd do everything you tell me to. I can't bear to think that strangers are with her when her own mother...
Perhaps in a little while it might be possible, but just at present, only the most skilled nursing will...
She was so happy. If you could have only seen her face when she came and told me you'd asked her to marry you.
Oh, please don't speak of that. You can imagine how this terrible sickness of hers affects me.
I know. This is the grief we share in common, Henry. Oh, you don't mind if I call you that, do you?
Of course not. As Helen's mother, you have every right to.
She told me so much about you. And I'd looked forward to the time we'd meet. I never thought that it would be like this. I won't keep you any longer. You've got more than enough to do. If you'll just let me know how she is and when I can come and see her.
I'll do that the first moment I think it will be safe. Now come. Let me show you to the door. Would you like me to call you a cab?
Oh, no. I haven't far to go. I'm staying with my sister, and she lives quite close to here.
Good. Then I can easily get in touch with you if it's necessary.
Mama! Good gracious. What's that?
I'm afraid you'll have to excuse me. It's Helen. She must be having one of her attacks again. Who? Will you show Mrs. Peters to the door?
Yes, Dr. Jekyll. This way, please, madam.
But, Doctor, let me...
No, you must go at once. I'll have to attend to her myself. Goodbye.
This way, please, madam. This way. Here, stop. Where are you going?
I'm going upstairs.
But you can't. The doctor's orders.
I don't care what the doctor said. My child is up there sick, and she's calling for me. It'll take more than you to keep me away from her. Get out of my way.
But
Get out of my way, I said.
Oh, Dr. Jekyll will be very angry.
If you were in my place, what would you do?
If I were in your place, madam, I would do exactly as you are doing. So help me, I would.
Thank you. And now, will you let me pass? See my mother, I will, and you can't keep me away from her.
Helen, dear, your mother is already gone. She's going to come back later on when you're feeling better.
But there's nothing the matter with me now. I don't know why you're keeping me here.
It's for your own good, my dear.
It's not. It's because you're afraid I'll tell what I know.
Oh, dear. The old delusion again.
All right. Call it a delusion. Call it anything you like. But let me go. Let me see my mother.
Helen, dear, that is not possible.
Why? Mother. Oh, Mother.
Mrs. Peters, how dare you come up here?
I heard her calling me.
That is no reason. I told you she was in a highly dangerous condition. Don't you know that you're risking her very sanity?
That isn't true.
You can see for yourself. Look at her face. Look at her eyes.
And do you wonder? Do you think I can ever be the same again after what I saw?
Tell your mother what you saw, Helen.
I saw... Oh, how can I tell her? No one will believe me.
I insist that you tell her.
Tell me, Helen. Tell me, dear. Oh, Mother. Oh, perhaps he's right. Perhaps it was a terrible delusion.
But tell me, what was it you think you saw?
You remember that I got a letter telling me to go to his house and get some medicine?
Yes, I remember.
I did as he asked and waited for him to come. When the knock came to the door, I opened it. And there on the step I saw, not Henry Jekyll, as I had thought, but Edward Hyde.
What? Edward Hyde? The murderer?
Yes.
But what was he doing there? Did you call for help?
No. He told me he'd come from Henry. I was frightened and let him come inside. He asked for the drug. He seemed half beside himself with fear and told me something would happen to Henry if he didn't get it. I took him up to my room.
Go on.
I showed him the drawer which held the drug. And just as he was about to go, we heard a loud knocking on the street door. It was the police.
The police?
Yes, they'd seen him come into the house. They'd been trailing him all afternoon and had now come to arrest him for the murder of Mr. Utterson.
Oh, Helen, how terrible.
But wait, Mother. I opened the window and called down to them. And when I turned back into the room, there was Hyde. I saw it, I tell you. I saw it with my own eyes.
What did you see?
I saw him rush to the drawer, take out the bottle of red fluid, pour some into a glass, and the white powder. And when it had dissolved, he put it to his lips and drank. I thought it was poison. I rushed forward to seize it from him, but he'd fallen to the floor. I've seen people who've taken strychnine. I've seen epilepsy. But I've never seen anything so terrible as the seizure that he had then. I just stood there, paralyzed with horror.
And then he seemed to change. I can't explain it, but his face seemed to swell up and grow black, and his features seemed to melt and alter. His whole body changed before my very eyes. Everything grew black before me. I sprang away and held my hands before my eyes to hide the horror from them. And when I looked again, he'd got up to his feet, was clinging to the edge of the table. And I swear that what I say is true. The man I saw there, gasping for breath, pale and terrible, was Henry Jekyll.
Helen, what are you saying?
Now, will you believe me when I tell you that she is completely unbalanced?
I'm not. I saw it, I tell you.
Helen, dear, you mustn't upset yourself like this. Oh, Henry, what are we going to do about her?
I'll give her another sedative and put her to sleep.
Sleep? Sleep? You're always putting me to sleep. Why don't you do the job properly and put me to sleep forever?
Helen.
Oh, Mother, take me away from here. I'm not mad. If he'll let me go, I'll never tell another living soul what I saw.
Helen, my dear, Helen. I'll let you go, my dear, as soon as you are well.
As soon as you can persuade me that I imagined it all. I'll never believe that, never.
Come now. Take this sleeping draught and rest. You've had far too much excitement, my dear.
Yes, take it, Helen. It's for your own good, dear.
You too, Mother. You too. Oh, won't anyone believe me? I'm not mad, I tell you. I'm not mad.
No, my dear, you're not mad. But you're very, very sick.
Oh.
Now, calm yourself. Now, just drink this down and go to sleep. I'll let your mother come and see you tomorrow. Come now. That's a good girl. Drink it down. That's a good girl. We'll leave you now, my dear. I want to have a little talk to your mother, and then I will come back. Now, will you be all right?
Yes, I'm all right.
Nurse will look after you. Come, Mrs. Peters.
Oh, Henry, this is terrible.
You see what I mean?
Oh, yes, of course I do. What will be the end of it?
I'm hoping that rest and quiet and unremitting care will bring her round.
And if not?
If this strange delusion doesn't pass, well, we may have to find some way of safeguarding her against herself.
You don't mean some sort of home?
Well, it's early to think of that, but it may become necessary.
Oh, no. Not my lovely, sane girl.
Don't you think it breaks my heart as much as yours? This most dreadful thing that has ever happened to me. I'd give my very life if I could make her well again.
Have you any idea what made her like this?
Yes. I believe that she did open the door and saw Edward Hyde standing there. After all, we have the evidence of the police that he came to that house that night.
And do you think he did something to her?
I think that the shock and terror of seeing him there may have unbalanced her.
So that's another crime against the name of Edward Hyde. I wonder, is there any punishment terrible enough to fit the sins of such a man?
There is a punishment awaiting Edward Hyde. That will be more terrible than anything that you could ever imagine. With every hour that passes, it is creeping on him, and he knows, as I do, that there is no escape.
present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Let me see now. I'll want this little box of medicines, the thermometer, a stethoscope, some cotton wool. Do you know where the doctor keeps his antiseptics, Nellie?
I'm not sure, miss, but I think they're in that cabinet over there.
Oh, yes, that's right. Now, I wonder what else I'll need. By the way, where's Poole?
He went away yesterday morning, miss.
Went away?
Yes. I'm not certain, but I think he's gone to try and get Dr. Lanyon to come back from his honeymoon. He's been awful worried over the master, miss.
Yes, I suppose so. Has Mrs. Poole been in charge while he's away?
Yes, miss. She's downstairs now, getting a tray ready to take over to the doctor.
A tray?
That's his orders, miss. 3 times a day, food's to be taken over to him. It's to be placed outside the door, and then whoever goes over with it is to leave at once. We never see him, miss. There's the empty tray waiting for us when we get back, and not another sign.
I see.
There's Mrs. Poole coming up with his supper now, miss. Will I tell her you're here?
No. I'll go out and see her myself. Ask someone to get me a cab, will you? I must hurry away as soon as I can.
Yes, miss. I'll do it right away.
Thank you.
Mrs. Poole? Lord, Miss Peters, how you gave me a start. I never dreamt of seeing you back here so soon. Are you feeling better, miss?
Yes, I'm all right. There was nothing really the matter with me. I only needed a little rest. Tell me, Mrs. Poole, have you seen Dr. Jekyll?
No, miss. None of us has. Not since the night after you left.
And how was he then?
Oh, dreadful, moody and depressed, miss. Never touched a bite of his food and didn't say a word to no one. Poole told me that he spent most of the night in his study writing letters. Round about daybreak, he heard him pacing up and down like as if he had something terrible on his mind.
Yes. Go on.
Well, you know, miss, that Poole's never the one to pry on his master. But the fact is that he was that worried he never slept a wink the whole night through. At last he got that bad that he got up out of his bed.
Did he see the doctor?
No, miss, but he heard him. He came back pale and trembling and sat on the edge of the bed not knowing what to do. He told me that he heard the doctor sobbing down in that empty room and it fair broke his heart to listen to.
Oh, if only I'd been here.
Well, I don't know that you could have helped, miss. It wasn't long after that we both of us heard him slam the door that leads to the courtyard at the back of the house. Then we heard his footsteps going over the paving stones and the sound of his key in the lock of that building where his laboratory is. I don't know why it was, miss, but both of us held our breath. There seemed to be something strange about the sound of his footsteps dragging slow and terrible across them stones. And then the door shut, and there was silence. And there's not been any one of us has set our eyes on him from that time on. Oh, Miss Peters, what do you think's come over him?
I don't know, Mrs. Poole. I don't know. But we must do as he says. Leave him alone and hope and pray that it will pass.
Will you come out with me now? I daresn't go alone. I always get one of the maids to come with me.
Why? What are you afraid of?
Wait till you hear.
Hear what?
Come with me now and listen for yourself. It's time I took this food across. I daresn't be a minute late.
All right. Wait a minute. I'll open the door. Oh, listen to that wind.
Oh, I hate this courtyard. Always damp and never gets the sun. Look, the sky's quite bright, but it's dark in here already. Mind where you're going. Them stones are full of holes. Look. What? Oh, it's him, sitting at the window. Oh, the poor gentleman, how pale and ill he looks. Oh.
He hasn't seen us yet. Don't move. Stay in the doorway, and I'll go and speak to him. Henry? Henry?
Helen, what are you doing here?
I came to see you, Henry. I heard that you were sick. I'm so glad to see you, dear.
You must go away, Helen.
Please don't send me away. I just want to be near you in case there's anything that I can do.
No, it's quite impossible.
You can do nothing. I beg of you to go. Now, at once.
But why?
Because... Oh, Helen!
Henry! Henry, what's the matter?
Oh, Miss Peters, Miss Peters. Oh, what does it mean?
Did you see?
Yes. What's come over him? That look on his face before he shut the window down. It froze the very blood in me veins.
Listen.
Oh, that's it. That's what we've been hearing all the week. Day and night it is. Do you wonder that none of us dares come out here alone?
Oh, this can't go on. We've got to do something.
Yes, but what? That's why Poole's gone for Dr. Lanyon. We had to have some help.
Oh, but he mightn't be here for days. Oh, I'm going to do something now. Are you willing to come?
I've got to go into that place with the food, and none of the others will venture.
Come along, then. We'll go together. Oh, just listen to that wind. Heavens. Dark in here. I can hardly see a thing.
There's a lantern just inside the door. Wait a minute till I light it. There.
Oh, that's better. Now, you wait here.
Where are you going, Miss Peters?
I'm going to speak to him through the door.
Oh, no, you mustn't.
Don't you realize that something dreadful has happened to Dr. Jekyll? You expect me to stand by and do nothing about it?
But listen to that voice crying in the room up there. Is that Dr. Jekyll?
Who else can it be?
Whoever it is that's crying out like that, it's never Dr. Jekyll. I've served him 20 years, miss, and I couldn't be deceived. There's someone else in that room with him. But who it is and why he stays there is something that I dursn't even guess at.
All the same, I'm going to speak to him. You wait here and I'll go up the stairs alone.
Oh, I wish you wouldn't, miss. I do indeed.
Henry? Henry, can you hear me?
Who's there?
It's Helen. Henry, won't you see me?
Go away!
But Henry, I wanted
Go away! Go away! How dare you come here? I told you not to come. Go! Go!
I want to help you. You must let me in.
Help me, you! You poor, weak, trembling thing! You think you've got it in your power to do anything for me? I'm beyond the power of heaven or hell. Get away! Get away before I tear down this door and show you what I am!
Oh, was that my master's voice, Miss Peters?
No.
Oh, you see, it ain't any use. We'll have to wait till Poole comes back with Dr. Lanyon.
Are you there, Miss Peters?
Yes, Nellie, what is it?
The cab's been waiting for you, miss. The man says he can't stop much longer.
Oh, very well. I'll come now. Nellie, will you stay here with Mrs. Poole while she takes the tray to the door?
Oh, dear.
All right, then. I'll stay if you're nervous.
No, it'll be all right. It's just that it fair gives me the creeps over there.
Well, if I can go right up to that door and put the tray down, you ought to be able to stay down here.
Very well, then, but don't be too long.
Oh, you needn't worry over that. You go, Miss Peters. We'll be all right.
I must go to that sick child. And if I miss this cab, goodness knows how long it will be before I get another one.
Of course, miss. Nellie, stop looking over your shoulder like that. There's nothing in that corner but a pile of empty boxes.
I'll come back just as soon as I can, Mrs. Poole. Will you prepare a room for me? I'll stay here until Dr. Lanyon gets back.
Yes, miss, that I will. And I'll be right glad to have you with us.
I'll be back about 11 o'clock, I suppose.
And you'll find me sitting up. I'll have some supper ready for you.
Thank you very much. Goodbye. I'll go back to the house.
Oh, listen to him. Oh, do worry, Mrs. Poole. Oh, I can't abide it if that's the truth.
Oh, I'll go up right away. Pull yourself together now like a good girl.
Open this door. Let me in. have you got this door locked for?
We always keep it locked when we get in. Can't help us.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm the kitchen boy, miss.
What are you doing up here in the main house?
If you please, miss, all the servants have been coming up here at night. The servants' doors at the back. We hear him two dogs playing there.
I see. Well, I suppose it's all right.
Mrs. Poole's letting us sit round the fire in the big entrance hall. It helps to keep our spirits up.
Oh, there's nothing to be afraid of. The doctor's very ill, that's all. And there's no...
Nellie, what's that?
Nellie, here, quiet. What's the matter?
I saw him. He came out through the door. Oh, Mrs. Poole.
Mrs. Poole? What do you mean?
Look at him now. He's coming across the hall.
Oh, shut the door. Shut the door before he gets us. Oh, look at him.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now present George Edwards in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You're not Henry Jekyll. The voice isn't his. The words aren't his. What have you done with him?
He's here with me.
Then let him come out.
No, he could never come out.
I'm giving you fair warning. You leave me no choice but to break in the door.
Oh, have you no pity? Can't you let me stay here in my agony?
No, come out of there once, Joseph.
Pity, you fiend. Did you have pity on my wife?
Let her go, Poole. There's no point in talking anymore.
What shall we do, sir? Shall I get an axe and break in the door?
No, we can't do that. Things have got beyond our control now. We must call in the police.
You mean because of...
We must not touch her. Nothing must be moved.
Could I stay with her, sir? Please? I can't bear to think of her being alone in this dark, dismal place.
Are you sure you feel able to bear it, Poole?
Now that the first shock is over, I feel calmer, sir.
All the same, I think Thomas had better remain with you. Bradshaw and I'll go back to the house. I'll send someone around to the police station right away. Then I'll come back to you.
Could we take one of those pieces of cloth over there and just cover her up, sir?
Yes. Thomas, come and help me.
Oh, my poor girl. My poor girl. She did it because I asked her to. I should never have asked her. I'll never forgive myself. Never. As long as I live.
There. That hides her from your sight. Come along, Bradshaw. We'll go. Bradshaw, you go to the police station and tell them what's happened. Tell them to hurry. We know Hyde's locked in that room now, but at any moment he might take it into his head to break out.
Yes, sir. I'll go right away.
Is that you, Dr. Langdon?
Oh, Helen, I was just coming to look for you.
What did you find in there? Is she dead?
Yes. It was instantaneous, I should think.
How dreadful. How unspeakably dreadful. What are you going to do?
I've just sent Bradshaw for the police.
The police?
There's no alternative.
I know. So that's to be the end. The gallows. Strange. He told me once of a prophecy. An old gypsy woman on a wind-swept heath. She warned him that this would be his fate.
Who were you talking about? Did you know Edward Hyde?
Edward Hyde? Yes. Yes, I knew him. But I knew Henry Jekyll best.
Helen, look at me. Do you feel all right?
I know what you're thinking. Poole told you that I've been ill, didn't he?
Yes.
They thought I'd gone out of my mind. It wasn't so. And you needn't look at me as though you're afraid of it again. I know what I know. And soon you'll see it and know it too.
Can't you tell me what you mean?
I can't tell you. You must see for yourself. You must look on a sight that will freeze the blood in your veins and shake your very life to its foundation.
Helen, what are you talking
about? Oh, don't
about?
ask me. There are no words. You must wait and see what you will see. Listen, what's that?
That's the police. They'll have every man they've got to surround the place.
But there's something else. Open the window and have a look. Look! Just look at those people. Where did they come from?
Goodness only knows.
They're coming this way. Look, the police are forming a cordon to keep them back. How did they get to know?
There only needs to be a whisper of the name of Hyde to arouse them to frenzy. I don't think there's ever been a man before who so filled the common people with loathing. Every man, woman, and child in England has heard of his crimes.
Oh, I can't bear it. Shut the window. Don't let me see.
There. That'll be the police. I'll go down and let them in. Will you wait here?
Yes. Yes, I'll wait.
I think you'd be wise to remain in this room. Things may be a little bit unpleasant downstairs.
Do you think I can shut away the horrors of tonight by shutting the door? Oh, go. 1 or 2 more. What does it matter? If the end must come, let it be soon.
You spoke to him through the door, Dr. Lanyon?
Yes, just a few minutes ago, Inspector. He can't get out without our knowing it. There's only one door.
Is anybody keeping watch?
Yes, 2 men. I don't think we ought to delay too long. He's been out once tonight, and we want no more murders.
You're right, we don't. I'll get my men. The whole place is surrounded now, but we need half a dozen or so to be with us when we break in.
You've got tools?
Yes, an axe and a crowbar.
You'll need them. The door's particularly thick and strong.
Let's get started, then. The men are waiting outside. I'll throw them in. This is a strange-looking place. What was it used for?
Dr. Jekyll was very interested in chemical research, Inspector. He has his laboratory out here.
And he and that beast Hyde have been shut up together for the past week.
As far as I know, they have been. But none of us knew about Hyde until tonight.
What on earth could a fine gentleman like the doctor be doing with a brute like that?
Heaven only knows. That's what I've been asking myself ever since I knew.
Well, we'll soon find out. A lot of mysteries are going to be cleared up tonight, I fancy.
Here we are. I'll open the door and let you in. Are you there, Poole?
Yes, sir. Here.
I've brought Inspector Martin and some of his men. Has anything happened since I left? Listen, Inspector. You can hear him now.
Doesn't sound human.
No more ears. Look what he did to my wife. Oh, just look. Isn't that the work of a fiend?
Steady on, old man. You shouldn't have stayed here so long. Do you think the poor soul could be taken across to the house now, Inspector? We thought it better not to move her till you came. But there's no doubt about who did it.
None at all. Yes, there's no point in leaving her here any longer. Ted, you and Harry carry her across. We'll be able to do the job without you.
I don't think he'll put up much of a fight from the sound of him.
I wouldn't depend on that if I were you.
Well, we're all armed. If he shows the least sign of trouble, we'll know how to settle him. No, I'd hate to cheat the hangman of his job.
Hanging's too good for him. If I had my way...
Never mind, Poole, my poor fellow. We know how you feel. But Hyde will pay the penalty. Never fair.
Are you ready, men?
Yes, sir.
All ready. I'll go up to the door. Have your guns ready and be prepared for anything.
Yes, sir.
Who's there?
Open this door in the name of the law.
No. No.
Edward Hyde, I command you to open this door and come out, or I'll give orders for it to be smashed down.
No, I can't.
I will count 3. 1, 2, 3. Come along, George and Bert. Don't waste time. Down with it. Keep it up. Keep it up, men. We don't want it to slip through our fingers.
Stop! Stop!
Wait a minute, Inspector. Helen, my dear, you must go back to the house. This is no place for you.
Oh, it is. I must be here. You don't understand. Please don't break in that door. You don't know what's there.
We know that the murderer of 2 innocent people is there.
And something else. Dr. Lanyon, you're his friend. Don't you realize what you're doing?
Helen, you mustn't get excited like this. You must calm down. What's come over you? Would you have us let this creature go?
Oh, but I love him. No matter what he's done or what he's guilty of. I love him.
In pity's name, what are you talking about?
Henry Jekyll. They're the same person. Jekyll and Hyde. If you destroy one, you destroy the other. Oh, can't you understand?
What on earth is she talking about?
I haven't got the faintest idea. Helen, please go back to the house. You don't know what you're saying.
I do. Oh, won't anyone believe me? I saw it with my own eyes. I saw it. He came to my house. He swallowed the drug. And I saw him change.
Dr. Lanyon, I think we'd better take her away, sir. This is how she was when the doctor was so worried over her.
Yes, I can see that for myself. Helen, dear, I want you to do as I ask. Won't you go back to the house and leave this grim business to us? Heaven alone knows what we'll see when we do break in that door.
I know what you'll see. You'll see a sight that will strike you dumb with horror, that will freeze the blood in your veins. But I must see it too. I've seen so much, suffered so much. I must see the end. Tell them to go on. I'll be calm. I know it has to be.
Go on, men. Smash in the door.
What a tragic end. My dear listeners, Jekyll, the man who wished to separate the good and evil, only to find that he was never two men at all, just one. And in the end, Hyde was the stronger of the two. And Hyde, well, let's just say he never was one for happy endings. And don't forget about the Mira Morgue challenge for toy photography. This week, let's capture a moment of transformation. The shift between light and dark, good and evil, or sanity and madness. Same theme with the sci-fi theme, but a little more specific based on our lovely story. Well, my haunted airway explorers, the morgue doors creak close once again, but remember, whether in toy photography or in the darkest corners of your minds, some monsters don't need a potion to be set free. Until next time, keep your cameras lurking and your airwaves haunted, because sometimes real horror isn't the transformation. It's realizing the monster was you all along.